Surprising new developments in the case against Luigi Mangione, the accused healthcare CEO killer. A judge yesterday revealed the defense team will pursue a psychiatric defense because of, quote, extreme emotional disturbance. It's a strategy legal experts say effectively concedes Mangione pulled the trigger. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk reports.
A bombshell in New York State court. The judge in the case announcing that Luigi Mangione's defense team is changing course, legally conceding their client did kill UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Midtown Manhattan.
It's no longer a whodunit. It's no longer did Luigi Mangione kill Brian Thompson. It's he killed him.
But the defense will argue Mangione was suffering from extreme emotional disturbance and deserves a lesser charge than murder in the second degree.
If he's successful with this defense, it could be significantly reduced to manslaughter, which means 5 to 25 years as opposed to the potential of life.
The judge ordered all relevant documents handed over to the prosecution. The DA's office has the chance to order its own psychological evaluation of Mangione. The trial, less than 3 months away, will now look very different. Forensics and the murder weapon may not be the focus. Instead, it will likely be on the Ivy League grad's mental health and the alleged planning leading up to the shooting. Evidence like the red notebook found on him when he was arrested in a Pennsylvania McDonald's, possibly playing an even more significant role. One entry written months before the killing reads, "I finally feel confident about what I will do. The details are finally coming together." Prosecutors accuse Mangione of meticulously plotting the crime, which could make a psychiatric defense a significant challenge.
When you raise an affirmative defense like this, the defense actually has to show that Luigi Mangione acted with extreme emotional disturbance, that he lost self-control.
The defense has legally conceded that their client killed Brian Thompson, so that could also affect the federal trial. But in federal court, they cannot make the same kind of psychiatric defense. So they're going to have to come up with another strategy for that trial. Back to you.
All right, Steph, thank you. For more on what this new defense could mean for this case, we're going to bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris. Good to have you here. We just saw you in Steph's piece there. You explained this doesn't obviously let Luigi Mangione off the hook. So what does change here? Why do you think his team is going with this strategy?
Yeah, so this is a mitigation defense. So it will just downgrade from what would be a second-degree murder to a manslaughter if it's successful. And I think the timing of this is really interesting because they filed a notice of intent to raise the psychiatric defense a while back, but they asked for more time in order to move forward with actually doing it. And I think one of the reasons is because in the middle, what happened? Well, they had that huge evidentiary hearing and decision about what from Luigi Mangione's backpack, what statements were actually going to come in. So strategically, this comes on the heels of the defense having to grapple with the gun is coming in, the manifesto is coming in. And so this seems to be a pivot on that strategy, given it's really not going to be a great argument to say it wasn't him.
This isn't really an easy defense win. I mean, what does the defense have to prove? How high is the legal bar?
So this is a really, really challenging defense because when the defense takes this on, they actually have the burden to prove something, where normally it's up to prosecutors. So they have to show that Luigi Mangione was in extreme emotional distress. There's some kind of triggering event that happens that causes him to lose control. And then they have to explain what happened, why that's reasonable in the eyes of the jurors will make that determination. So in his mind, he was under extreme emotional disturbance and that it was reasonable given the circumstances that the defense will lay out. When you see this defense, though, you usually see an act happen close in time because one of the standards is there's no time to regain control. So the timeline here is going to be a real challenge. Remember, he travels from Georgia to New York, and then he's in New York for multiple days. So that's going to be something the defense will have to overcome, and we'll see how they'll do that as more evidence comes to light.
We still have a ways to go here, but if in the end the jury does accept this argument here, how does that potentially change the sentence?
Well, so life is off the table if they accept this, and you have a range of 5 to 25 years. So it's a significant reduction in his potential time behind bars if this defense succeeds.
Looking ahead to the September trial, what are the biggest sort of hurdles that you see and what we'll see along the way on this timeline?
So this timeline is going to be critical, and I'm talking about from whenever the defense is going to lay out what happened, what the judge said, what is the malady that caused extreme emotional distress leading up to that day that Brian Thompson, Luigi Mangione, has now conceded that he pulled the trigger and killed him. That timeline and his state of mind. This is going to be such an expert-heavy case. You're going to see all sorts of medical experts, forensic psychologists, investigation, what Luigi Mangione's life looked like during that time period. And we'll see how the defense intends to link that to something that happened months and months later. And prosecutors are going to say, listen, this was something well planned, well thought out, and you can read that in that manifesto.
It really changes what this trial is going to look like.
It changes the trial tremendously.
All right, Misty Marris, good to have you with us.
Thank you.